Not all soundtracks are created equal. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 most annoying songs and pieces of music in video games. Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're looking at those pieces of video game music that drove us up the wall. We're basing our picks on a mix of grating sound design, repetitive composition, and how distracting each track is while you're playing. Number 10, Eternity, Blue Dragon. Most of Nobuo Uematsu's score for Blue Dragon is emotive, complex, and kind of epic, but it certainly wasn't all perfect. For some intense boss battles, Uematsu brought the heat with some heavy metal guitars and drums. While the music definitely hypes up the battle, the vocals are both harsh and very distracting. Leaning into that musical soul of the song, the lyrics are intensely over the top and kind of on the nose. The brash recording makes it more than a little difficult to think about the game's actual harder bosses. Most surprising here was that the singing was actually delivered by none other than Deep Purple's Ian Gillan. Number 9, Twilit Battle, The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess. As the darkness starts to reveal itself in this Zelda release, Link has a few run-ins with shadow beasts. Large and covered in tendrils, these enemies are already creepy before that theme music kicks in, a frantic onslaught of MIDI noises. The song is both haunting and aggressively ugly to listen to. Even though it fits with the monster's aesthetic, the overall effect is tiring to say the least. The draining monotony of the track is made even worse by its lo-fi audio quality. Also, if you don't kill the monsters together, then they revive each other, leaving you to listen to the song even longer. Number 8, Stage Theme, 1942, NES version. When Capcom brought their arcade shooter over to the Nintendo Entertainment System, they didn't exactly improve upon the soundtrack. Despite the NES's ability to handle multiple tones, the entire soundtrack is actually just one note and a drum beat. The piercing noises repeat for basically the entire game, making any extended play session torturous, especially if you're not the one playing. The game's sound effects were on the same channels as the music, which also ruins any of the rhythm in the song. With the on-screen chaos that this game offered, the choppy and loud score turned it into a sensory overload. Number 7, Hurry Up! Wario Land 4. In one of the many gems of the Game Boy Advance era, Wario Land offered a quirky take on puzzle platforming games by adding stress to the end of each level in the form of a switch that would start a timer that forces you to exit as fast as possible. As the timer starts, Wario yells, "Hurry up," setting the music into a basic frenzy. Hurry up! Ranging from nerve-wracking battles to full-on warped noises, the song is both fitting and very, very irritating. It doesn't stay consistent either, going quietly in some places and then basically shrieking at you in others. Later levels even have that music playing for over 9 minutes at a time. Number 6, Town Theme, King's Quest V. While most of the music in this point-and-click adventure is subtle and kind of mysterious, things get kind of painful in a tiny town. Fitting into the game's fantasy setting, the music is a bouncy little MIDI take on accordion street music. However, the low quality and kind of earworm effect it had on gamers made it all the easier to mute. Starting quietly on the outskirts of town, the song quickly amplifies louder than the rest of the soundtrack. If you try to escape the theme by going into a house, a slow and creepy version plays instead. Number 5. Options menu music. Sonic the Hedgehog Spinball. Regardless of the varying quality of his games over the years, Sonic has almost always had great music as the soundtrack to his fast-paced adventures. His addictive pinball installment was basically no different, boasting unique original music for each area. If you wanted to change the settings, however, the music kinda took a devastating turn, as this song's distorted shrieks are immediately deafening. The quiet middle part feels just as out of place and makes the whole song even louder when it returns. The menu does give you that all too enticing option to turn the music off, despite it being the only part of the game you would actually want to do so for. Number 4. Player Select, aka I Wanna Take You for a Ride. Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes. With 56 iconic characters to pick from in this fighting game, you're probably gonna need to spend some time choosing your 3-man team. The longer you take, though, the more you'll have to hear the obnoxious music, so maybe that was deliberate. Looping the same vocals and instrumental endlessly, the song has a way of etching itself into your frickin' subconscious. Here, the funky saxophones feel really out of place. Reviewers openly called the game's soundtrack lame elevator jazz, stating that it was a major problem with an otherwise great game. All things considered, the music definitely incentivized players to start matches faster, though. Number 3. Mansion Basement, Resident Evil, Director's Cut, DualShock version. Despite the cringe-inducing voice acting, the early Resident Evil games are horror classics. The original game's eerie soundtrack left players scared for their lives for the most part, anxious to peer around every corner. For the DualShock version of the Director's Cut, though, players got a new symphonic score that had a dark secret. Entering the mansion's basement started a chorus of demented, evil trumpets, completely ruining the game's creepy atmosphere. Loud and kinda messy, the track actually makes it hard to focus on the combat. The trumpets also sound like a MIDI composition, which doesn't fit the symphonic update. Considering the strength of the original theme, it's kind of a wonder this calamity was even composed. Number 2. The March of the Moogles, Final Fantasy XIV 1.0. For their MMO take on the Final Fantasy franchise, Square Enix still made it feel like a full entry in the series. Players were treated to cinematic visuals and a lush score with over 100 songs. In one of the game's earlier cutscenes, though, our heroes are saved by Moogles, along with their weird assortment of instruments. Blasting awful flutes and horns to deranged melodies, the furry creature's music is enough to drive any gamer crazy. It's sloppy and it's aggressive, making this track a blemish in a series known for great music. Thank goodness it only appears once. Number 1. Title screen, Crazy Bus. Originally constructed as a tech demo, this Venezuelan driving game is as simple as driving left and right. Seriously, that's literally all you can do. Entering the game's title screen treats you to the sounds of, well, video game hell. A random assortment of ear-splitting noises, the track doesn't actually do the game any favors, and that's saying something. For such a bare-bones release, this insane score is basically unbelievable. But for you true masochists out there, you can buy the game on Etsy along with a box and manual, so go nuts. Don't say we didn't warn you. Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.